Arrival happens quietly, not as a decision, not as an intention, but as a recognition, like realizing you have been standing somewhere longer than memory accounts for. The path rests beneath you, softened by time and fallen leaves pressed into the earth until they no longer resemble what they once were. They give gently underfoot, yielding without sound, as though the forest has learned that quiet is a form of hospitality. The night air tastes rich and green, layered with moss, bark, and the faintest sweetness of sap. There is moisture in it, not enough to chill, just enough to feel substantial. Breathing here feels slower, fuller, as if the air carries something nourishing rather than empty. Above, branches arc toward one another in patient patterns, leaves forming a canopy that allows moonlight through only where it wishes. Light arrives in fragments, touching bark and stone and soil without emphasis. Some places remain untouched, holding darkness like a kept secret. Dew clings to polished leaves, hanging by fortune alone, each droplet suspended like a held thought. Within one droplet, the world gathers itself. It curves inward, carrying a softened reflection of the forest, a branch bending into infinity, a silver of moonlight stretched into something round and complete. Inside this small, glistening sphere, light moves more slowly, refracted and rearranged, as though the night has agreed to tell itself a quieter story. If one could linger there, inside that single bead of water, there might be hills made of shadow and valleys shaped by light. The forest would exist again, gentler, every edge rounded, every sound reduced to suggestion. Time would fold in on itself, unmeasured, content to remain where it is. And then, just as easily, the droplet would release its hold and fall, returning its entire contained world back to the leaf, back to the ground, back to the night, leaving nothing missing behind. Nothing stirs, nothing rushes. Even the shadows seem settled into their places, content with the shapes they have been given. The forest does not lean toward the path. It does not pull away from it either. It simply remains. There is no sense of distance here, no pressure to measure how far has been traveled or how far remains. Time loosens its grip, becoming less interested in sequence, less concerned with outcome. As the path carries you deeper beneath the trees, the forest thickens without becoming heavy. Trunks stand closer together now, rising like quiet sentinels, their bark textured with shallow grooves where rain has traveled the same paths for years. Each groove is a landscape unto itself. Some are shallow, barely felt, catching only the faintest line of shadow. Others deepen and curve, holding cool air and moisture, becoming narrow valleys where darkness gathers. In these channels, lichen forms pale constellations, mapping territories too small to name, yet complete in their design. Within these grooves, one could imagine entire lands, ridges warm, smooth by imagined weather, basins where dew settles like morning fog, pathways traced not only by feet but by time itself. Here, erosion is not destruction but memory, a slow collaboration between bark and water and waiting. The tree carries these worlds without noticing, standing whole while containing countless quiet interiors. The air changes between the trees. In some places it feels damp and loamy, rich with soil and fallen leaves. In others, it carries a dry resonance note, pine and cedar releasing what the day warmed earlier, now offering it back to the dark. Breathing becomes an act of noticing rather than effort. Inhale, cool, faintly metallic green with shadow. Exhale, warmer, softer, barely marked. The forest floor holds details that ask for nothing. A curled leaf edged with silver dew, a smooth stone half buried in earth, a cluster of pale mushrooms growing without witness. Nothing here feels unfinished. Nothing appears to be waiting. Somewhere above, an owl adjusts its weight on a branch. The sound is minimal, a whisper of feather against wood, but it carries clearly in the stillness. The owl does not announce itself. It does not watch with urgency. Its presence feels like acknowledgement rather than attention, as though it has noticed that everything is as it should be. The path continues in a way that does not ask to be followed. It neither curves dramatically nor promises arrival. It exists simply because it does, its edges softened by ferns and grasses jeweled with moisture. The air shifts as the land opens. Here it feels cooler, carrying the faint mineral scent of stone and water. The forest breathes slowly, not loudly enough to demand attention, but steadily enough to be felt. Nothing moves unless it wishes to. Off to one side, resting near the roots of an old tree, a lantern glows. Its light is warm and low, as though it has been burning patiently for hours, perhaps longer. No hand holds it, no shadow claims it. The light does not reach far, and it makes no effort to guide. It illuminates only what happens to be near, unconcerned with what lies beyond its reach. The path does not turn toward the lantern. The lantern does not call to the path. Both remain where they are, complete in their separation. As the forest opens further, the sound of water arrives before the water itself. A slow, rhythmic movement, not loud, not insistent, just enough to be known. The air cools here, tasting faintly of iron and stone, clean and grounding. Mist gathers low above the surface, brushing the edges of the path before drifting back again, undecided. The water moves without direction. It reflects the sky in softened fragments, refusing clarity, offering only suggestion. Walking alongside the water, the ground darkens where moisture gathers. Stones near the edge feel cool and smooth, shaped by years of quiet contact. Others hold warmth longer than expected, as if remembering the day. Reflections shift without meaning. A branch appears, then dissolves. Moonlight fractures, then reforms elsewhere. Nothing asks to be understood. Nothing asks more than this. The path does not announce that it is changing. It simply begins to feel less insistent beneath awareness, not unstable, but less concerned with direction. The forest widens without clearing. The trees remain, yet the spaces between them feel more generous, as though the night has stretched itself slightly to allow breath to settle more deeply. The ground holds layers. Beneath leaf and needle lies soil dark with years of quiet return. Beneath that, stone, patient, unhurried, shaped by intention, but by repetition. And beneath the stone, something deeper still, unnamed, holding pressure and time without ever needing to remember them. Each step rests upon all of it at once. Dew gathers again along the edges of grasses, leaning inward. Each blade carries its own constellation of droplets, round and luminous, reflecting fragments of the world in miniature. Within these droplets, Worlds exist briefly and fully. There are rivers inside them, light bending into motion, slow and unhurried. There are skies inside them, smaller, quieter, but complete. If one were to fall inward far enough, there might be forest within forest, nights within nights, paths repeating endlessly, each asking nothing of the one who walks them. And when the droplet releases its hold, nothing is lost. The world it carried simply returns to where it has always been. The air tastes cooler here, touched faintly with lichen and stone. It moves slowly, gathering in low places, lifting gently along the trunks of trees. Breathing becomes quieter, not because it must, but because there is no need for excess. The bark grows more intricate. Grooves deepen, forming channels traced by decades of rain and thaw. Moisture gathers there, darkening the wood, allowing moss and lichen to map pale continents across its surface. Each groove is a land. There are valleys where shadow rests, ridges worn smooth by return, passages where light travels briefly, then disappears. Time behaves differently in these small places. Stillness becomes movement too slow to be noticed. Erosion becomes memory. The tree holds all of this without effort. The sound of water returns, closer now. It moves in layers, surface, rhythm, and deeper current, unconcerned with interruption. The path follows the water again, close enough to hear, far enough to forget. Within shallow pools, smaller worlds gather. A leaf floats, its veins catching light like branches of rivers. Reflections layer themselves endlessly. Nothing asks it to move on. Further along, the water splits briefly around stone, then reunites. Between the currents, moss rises damp and dark, holding dew like scattered stars. If one could stand here, everything would feel complete, not because anything has been achieved, but because nothing is missing. The ladder appears, the ladder at the edge of awareness, unchanged. Moisture beads along its rungs, catching light, releasing it again. It has not waited, it has simply remained. Beyond it, the forest softens further. Here, breath becomes the clearest motions. Inhale, cool, green, faintly mineral. Exhale, warm, unmarked. The owl does not return. Its absence feels complete. Somewhere behind, the lantern's glow remains unchanged. Distance does not concern it. Path feels like something beneath the feet now, and more like something that exists whether it is noticed or not. Thoughts loosen, edges soften, words thin. Nothing asks more than this. There is nothing left to follow, nothing left to hold. The night knows how to continue without listening. You are allowed to rest here.